Alright, hello, and oh shit. As I said, hello, and welcome to the second part of the Slayer Frenzy video, where we're gonna talk about gearing, skill tree, and how to be a big boy. Now, this build, of course, is very expensive, at least to get it to a point where it will feel good. I wouldn't know how it would feel with less gear because I just immediately bought a lot of good stuff for it. And then I changed my starter gladiator build. I changed the ascendancy to Slayer and just equipped everything. So yeah, there you have it. So unless you have like, I would say like a minimum 100 exalts, I would say, I don't know. So yeah. If you want to play this on a budget, I literally have no clue how would it work. Alright, so let's start with the just overall what the build is. The build is Frenzy, of course, so we scale Frenzy charges. This is mostly done on the skill tree, so we just take all the Frenzy charges, and we take the last one with the Amulet Anoint. And of course we get one from the ascendancy as well. We do not have any on the gear except on the gloves. Except we can wear, and this is what I did wear before, the Dark Ray Vector Boots for +1. This will give us a lot more damage. But I decided to go with like the classic crit boots with elusive, tailwind, and onslaught, because it just feels better for mapping, a bit more movement speed, and for bosses as well. Is nice to get just more movement speed. Feels a bit nicer, despite losing some damage. Okay, so our frenzy, of course, is in the armor. 6 linked. We also have a 6 linked multiple totems with the war chief and the protector for more juicy damage. We are impale. This is where half of our damage comes from, actually. And yeah, just crit. Okay, so let's now go gear by gear, and then we're gonna go into the skill tree and go everything in the skill tree as well. So gear by gear, a second. We have first our staff. The staff, you want to look at least something 40x plus to get a good DPS staff. This one I paid for 120 exalts, if I remember correctly. It is a 1000 DPS staff, which as you can see is a bit expensive to get, but it definitely, makes the build what it is. Now, of course, you could go for something like, let's say 900-ish. It wouldn't be a big difference, right? And you can save quite a few exalts. All right. In the staff, we have the totems. So we have the protector, war chief. I have both at anomalous, so they have increased totem placement speed. Just makes them a bit faster to place, which is nice. Then we have the impale support, because how the impale stacks work, because we're in impale build, is that the totems will use up impale stacks. So if you apply impale stacks on the enemy, but the totems are hitting the enemy at the same time, you will never really reach maximum impale stacks because they'll just take it away. So we also make sure that the totems impale as well. So it's just better that way. Then of course we just have some extra melee fizz damage and brutality just so they do more damage. Right, so that's the staff. Let's move on to the helmet. So the helmet is just a classic physical damage helmet. So you have nearby enemies take 9% increased physical damage and 9% increased frenzy damage per frenzy charge enchantment. This is nothing special, it's just high life and nearby enemies take increased physical damage. Now, of course, you could craft a better one, specifically combine it with a warlord to get crit multi maybe or something like that. And of course, you could elevate the nearby enemies take increased physical damage one. But you need to take into account that we need to have a free suffix to get a chance to avoid elemental ailments. We get fully elemental ailments immune because we have 25% chance on the helmet, 30% on the chest piece, and 25 on the gloves, combined with these 4 nodes here that makes us fully elemental ailment immune because we have a 100% chance to avoid them. Okay, next, the rings. So both rings will be curse rings. So on our first ring we have Poacher's Mark when you hit a rare or unique enemy. The second ring will be Vulnerability. Now on both rings you want to get channeling skills have -7 to mana cost, but if you do not get it on the second ring, like in this case I don't have it on the second ring, then you need to have the Conqueror's efficiency for -9, because there is mana issues on this build if you do not have enough minus total mana cost. So yeah, but basically the rings you're looking for a good flat fees, maybe some resists, and you're looking that the life is not crafted, and then you can add minus mana cost. I would prefer to have that on the second ring as well, but I didn't I bother recrafting it because this, I just didn't. Okay, move on. The amulet is generally just a resistance amulet, so all you're looking for is a high life, resistances, and if you have a free prefix you can add melee strike range, and of course we're going to Frenetic for an extra frenzy charge. Now the chest armor is, you're looking for 3 things, and that is the socket attacks have minus cost, crit strike chance, and additional curse, right? Now I paid quite a bit for this one, I think around 50x or so, because it also has a tier 1 life with a tier 2 strength, so it gives a lot of life pool, which is really nice because we wouldn't really normally have very much otherwise. Okay, so yeah, and of course it needs to have a free prefix in this case for the avoid elemental ailments, right? So that's the important bit. You need to make sure you're not buying a chest armor that has crafted life, because you need to craft the avoid. Okay, next up are the gloves. On gloves you want to get maximum frenzy charge, and of course have a free suffix for avoid elemental ailments. Now the best other thing you could get, and I tried to craft a few times this but I just wasn't able to, you want to get something like this. You want to get the elevated melee strike range, which will increase the clear even better, and maximum frenzy charge. You could also go, instead of the melee strike range, on the hunter that strike skills target additional enemies, which will also help a lot with clear. I think specifically for ultimatums that would be really nice. And of course you cannot have a crafted life, and you need to have a free suffix, so it's really hard to craft this. But yeah, so in the end I decided to go with this. I think I bought this from the market for about 6x or so, because they had a free suffix to add the avoid, right, which we need. Now, if in any of your gear slots you don't like have enough currency or whatever, you could sacrifice this whole cluster jewel, right? You just unflip that or whatever, respect that, and you take these avoid nodes here instead. It costs you quite a bit of skill points, but it will make you elementally immune without needing to have the avoid elemental elements on all of these gear slots. But it's just better to have it here, so you don't have to spend the skill points there. Okay, next up we have the belt. The belt is just life, max life, and then flash charge when you deal a critical strike. This is not entirely necessary, the flash charge, but it's just kind of nice. And then also there is a bit of resistances as well. The Abyssal Jewel is just life and whatever, you know. I got some resistances. I got the Onslaught, which is not necessary anymore because I switched to the Onslaught Boots, which we're gonna talk about now. So this is the classic crit boots, which is you know, Tailwind, Elusive, and Onslaught, right? They're quite expensive, like at least 50 Exalt-ish, something like that, depending on the rolls, right? But yeah, it's your other option is the Dark Ray Vectors. I think I already talked about it, which are more damage, but this just feels better. Okay, so the GAM setup. I already covered the totems. We have the now this is completely irrelevant actually, but here we have second wind with dash, right? And then I just chucked in precision as well, and I put in lighten just because, you know, to free up a little bit of mana. But it's not a big difference. It's just 3 mana, so you don't really have to put in lighten here. It's not gonna be any like significant difference. It's just I had it and I put it in. Now the gloves is cast when damage taken. Anomalous is really good because it changes the quality to increased skill effect duration. And then we have that link to the phase run we just use manually to increase duration, and of course Immortal Call. Just to make our Immortal Call last, I think it lasts about 3 seconds when it uses up the endurance charges. And when you hit the Immortal Call, especially when you're doing ultimatums, when Immortal Call just kind of procs and you see the icon, then you know you can like take risks, because with the Immortal Call, when you use up all the endurance charges and you have 3 seconds of like pretty much physical damage, cannot do anything to you, you can you know, like if there is maybe proximity shields or things like that, you can get under them and just, you know, just a bit more spiffy for like 3 seconds. You can you know, feel like a beefy boy. Then of course we have a phase run here as well. This is just to move faster. We just use this manually when we need to, as you showed seen in the showcase probably. Then we move to the aura setup. Here we do need an enlighten just to free up as much mana as we can. With Divergent Pride, doesn't necessarily have to be Divergent, it doesn't make much of a difference. Dread Banner and Divergent Flesh and Stone, which also I actually don't know why I have Divergent, because it's not really very useful. I never change my stance, so yeah, completely useless to be Divergent, but yeah, there you go. So any Flesh and Stone will be quite fine. And of course we have our main skill setup, which is Frenzy. Impale, we have Awakened Melee Physical, Awakened Multi-Strike, Awakened Brutality, and Damage on full life, or for for map clear we have Ancestral Call. That covers the gear. Potions are just regular stuff. We got the life potion with immunity to bleeding. I always have that on the life potion. It just makes sense to me. Curse immune Quicksilver, as always. Bottled Fate. Diamond Flask with crit and duration crafted. And a Lion's Roar. Okay, so that covers the gear. Now let's go into the skill tree. So let's cover the Ascendancy first. So we take the Headsman for more damage against unique enemies, more damage if you killed recently, whatever. Cannot take Reflected Physical, which is really, really nice. Then we take the Brutal Fervor for Overleech. This is a lot of our survivability comes from the Overleech. And we also get 10% reduced damage taken while leeching. And we leech all the time, so it's really, really good defensive node. Then we take the melee strike range. This is very, very good for map clear. You want to get as much melee strike range in this build as you can. But we also get some very nice other stuff here, and that is accuracy. We get some more damage multiplier when we're closer to enemies, and well, that's it. And then of course we take the frenzy charges and make sure that we can also then build the same amount of endurance charges, which is really nice, and it is very important. Alright, now the piling through the skill tree. This is very skill tree, like very skill point hungry build. You want to get to at least level 97 to kind of cover the entirety of the skill tree, because we travel a lot, as you can see, you know, all the way up and then all the way to this part of the tree as well. So the first thing we take is just some damage notes here and stuff like that. We get to the jewel here, which needs to be Thread of Hope. We grab both the frenzy and endurance thing here and the attack speed with currently actually we have 8 frenzy charges. That's, you know, 16% attack speed. It's a really nice small node here to take as well. Then we grab this random crit multi node here. Of course we grab the frenzy charge, which we need as is important. We take the wall pact. Of course this doubles our life leech, which you know, the Slayer is all about. That's necessary. And then we go into this, the Culling Strike. We get Culling Strike because we don't take it on the Ascendancy, and this just gives us against marked enemies, which we get from the Poacher mark on the ring, right? The Poacher mark is generally also very nice because I'm not sure it will be listed here. Very good for bosses because it gives us even more life, gain on hit and stuff like that. Now this is only possible to take if you have chance to impale enemies on hit with attacks. Because if you do not have this mod on the staff, then you would not take these nodes, right? Because I mean the Culling Strike is not like super good. Then you have to take the actual impale nodes here. You can only take this if you do not have if you have the impale on the staff, right? Because we need to make sure we have 100% chance to impale. That is absolutely necessary for this build. Okay, moving further, we have the Wind Dancer. This is like, we're not an evasion build, right? But this is still beneficial sometimes because, especially like against bosses, you know, when you just get into a boss room, you're not gonna be hit recently, right? So on the first time that the boss hits you, sorry, you get 20% less damage, right? And if it doesn't hit you in the next 4 seconds, you reset it, right? But since we're not an invasion build, this just works here and there. But it's still, since it's on our way to our padding towards the frenzy charge, taking this just kind of felt right. So it's just nice. Then we take the life notes here. We need to take all of them for the avoid elemental ailments. And then we get to this jewel here where we put the intuitive leap and we grab the maximum frenzy charge, the herbalism for maximum life, whatever this is, crit multi, and some elemental resistances. Alright. Now we move to the other side of the tree. Here we take extra impale nodes. We go through the life to the accuracy staff nodes, which are really strong, and then down to the crit nodes and our first cluster jewel. You want to have one cluster jewel with Overlord. And the other two nodes are not really important what they are. It doesn't have to be this expensive jewel. This one is like 14x, but I don't even use the third node, so technically there is like no reason for it to be that expensive. Of course, if I were to get 2 more level ups, I might take back this node or maybe just drop some more life, but whatever, right? But yeah, you want to just make sure it says Overlord, and then you just look whatever will give you the most damage. While leeching, nodes are the best in general, because we always leech, and they generally give both damage and attack speed, which is really nice. Alright, then we travel through the staff nodes. This is where we get our chances, our endurance charge against single target, 10% chance. This is not much. We actually, considering that it's only 10% chance, that means since we do about 10 attacks per second, this is only basically 1 endurance charge every second against like endgame bosses, right? It's much easier when you deal with packs, because then you have on kill as well, and you also hit a lot more targets. So while mapping, we pretty much max out their endurance charges, but for bosses we do not, and we kinda, because like after 2 or 3 seconds the boss will probably be dead by now, right? So we don't really have time to build them up with just this node, but it's still good to kind of build even 1 or 2 for Immortal Call to be a bit stronger. Then of course we take the staff nodes for more crit stuff, right? And then we take some life here. We go up and take more crit staff nodes, and then more staff crit nodes, and then to the last jewel, which is just, you know, you're looking for basically any attack speed damage node, right? Yeah, it doesn't really matter what it is, and that's it. Now let's go through the unique jewels. So I already explained, we have Trail of Hope here, Intuitive Leap. The third one is the Watcher's Eye, which is you want to get Impales, Inflict Glass 2 additional hits while using Pride, or possibly anything else related to Pride. Alright, and then I also have the Conqueror's Efficiency, which I also explained. This is not required if you have the second ring also with mana cost, right? So this can go out of the build once we get the mana cost ring. And all the rare jewels are pretty much exactly the same as this one, or similar, and that is crit multi, attack speed, percent life, and resistances, right? And pretty much every single jewel will be like that. Now technically it is better for damage to get double crit multi rather than attack speed, but I just didn't have like a lot of currency when I was initially buying the jewels, so I just went with, you know, the slightly cheaper ones, the attack speed, crit multi, and things like that. And I think there was not even a lot of double crit multis on the market when I was buying them. So yeah, because we also want to make sure that we get resistance on top of that, because it could be a bit challenging to cap the resistances. Now I am a bit over capped now because I was doing a lot of like min maxing afterwards. I still had to like level up to switch to a Lyra, because I didn't initially respec to Lyra straight away. So yeah, so some of them could definitely be like changed, so you don't have to look for a res roll, but just make sure you have live double crit multi, you know, things like that. The jewels could be much better, and the damage can be much higher as well. So we're reaching about 30 million Shaper DPS with the current version of the build, as long as we're in the single target setup, and about 20 million with that. But this can easily go to about 40 million with a bit more min-maxing, and possibly even more, depending on how hard you min-max. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it about the skill tree and the jewels and such. There's nothing. The build is not like overly complicated in mechanics. Everything is rather simple. The only thing is that it is a bit expensive, so you do need to cash out for the build to kind of feel good. Yeah. All right. Well, that explains all the crap. Of course, Bob link will be in the description. And yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.